The Alonso hard fork is going live on the testnet while we see record institutional inflows into Cardano. And all of that while Cardano hits the $3 mark for the first time ever. What's up, my name is Caroline and this is Wealth in Progress, where you'll learn how to make passive income with cryptocurrencies. In this video we'll look at the latest Cardano news. Most importantly, we'll look at the Alonso hard fork going live on the testnet. So that's basically the last important step before the Alonso hard fork goes live on the mainnet. So it's now going live on the testnet. And then we'll also look at the institutional inflow that has happened in Cardano that has been at a record high. And then we'll also look at some interesting Bitcoin price predictions for the long run. Now, before we dive in, I've got some exciting news for you guys. The membership site that Kieran and I have been working on during the last few weeks will go live on September 9th. So we're finally coming to an end and we will finally be launching on September 9th. It's called the DeFi Academy and it will be the place to support you on your journey towards decentralized financial freedom. We've got a few awesome spreadsheets ready for you, including an exit strategy, a list of all Cardano projects that is constantly updated, and we'll also share a lot of trading and market signals that will help you time the top. Now, we'll open the membership site up with a super early bird option that will give you a 50% discount. However, in this category, there will only be 20 spots. So if you're interested in getting in very early and profiting from this super steep discount, make sure to go ahead in the description and subscribe to my newsletter. We'll be sending a few emails just before the launch so that you don't miss it, and it will be first come first served. So if you want to get one of those 20 spots, go ahead and subscribe to my newsletter. Alright, let's dive in. Alright, now first of all, let's quickly look at this tweet by Input Output. So that's the company behind Cardano. So yesterday they tweeted, so here we have it, since 2020 UTC today, the Cardano testnet now officially supports Pluto smart contracts. Final testing and integrations ahead. SPOs, so that's stakeable operators, will now upgrade their mainnet nodes. The next stop, mainnet upgrade. Still on track for September 12th. Onward ADA. Yeah, so they tweeted that yesterday, you can see on September 1st, and so since yesterday evening at 20 past 8 UTC, Pluto smart contracts are now available on the Cardano testnet. And apparently they're still on track for September 12th, so yeah, all looks good on this end. Alright, so that brings me to the next article from the Daily Hodl, and that titles Cardano records largest weekly inflows as institutional investors pounce on altcoins, and that is by CoinShares. So you can read here, institutional investors are showing greater interest in Cardano ADA as the smart contract platform records its largest weekly inflows. According to a new report from digital asset management firm CoinShares, Cardano's market share is on the rise after a substantial influx of capital from institutional investors. So apparently it's not only you and I, the retail investors, that have discovered that Cardano is still a real gem and that it has huge potential towards the upside, especially since the launch is now coming up very, very quickly. So apparently institutional investors have found that too and are now pumping money in as well. So yeah, good sign, definitely good sign. So apparently Cardano saw an inflow of just over 10 million this last week. And that is just by this management firm CoinShares. So probably other digital asset management firms will have had a record inflow as well. So this is just by this one company. Now what's also interesting is that CoinShares also says that they see a move from Bitcoin towards altcoins. So you can see here that they say Bitcoin saw outflows for the 8th consecutive week, with outflows totaling 3.8 million. 14 out of the last 16 weeks have been outflows. So that's maybe not that huge, but you can see there's an outflow of Bitcoin and there's an inflow towards other currencies. They also mention Solana and Polkadot. They also see an inflow, but Cardano is by far the biggest. Now, while we're still talking about Cardano, let's quickly look at the charts, because today, or actually last night, we finally surpassed the $3 mark. So it's currently trading at just over $3 at $3.05. And let's quickly look at the hourly chart, and you can see that has now nicely jumped up above the previous resistance that was at just about $2.95. So it has had a nice big green candle that has jumped over that. Now it's consolidating just a little bit. We've got some good volume as well. The only thing that is maybe a little bit concerning is that the RSI is pretty on the very high end, so that's pretty overbought actually. But as you can see on the hourly chart, that always swings up and down, so it goes to overbought and then it goes back down, not entirely into the oversold range, but it goes pretty low. So on the hourly, that's not too much of a concern. On the daily, it looks a bit more steep. So you can see that has been very high on the RSI here, but it has come down a bit. And what I really think will happen is that this will stay on this high range. Prices will probably go up higher and then it will calm down. It will correct just before or after September 12th. So I think, yes, this is a bit concerning, but in my opinion, this will just take another 1 or 2 weeks for the price to go higher before it will correct. Now, speaking of price, I've got another interesting article for you by Testnet, and that titles "One Bitcoin may be worth $1 billion, says Fidelity." So you can read here, one of the world's biggest asset manager has become one of the world's biggest Bitcoin bull with a top-off model that blows all others out of the water. Jurian Timmer, director of global macro at Fidelity, presented earlier this month a method of valuing Bitcoin that predicts it reaching $1 billion per coin in about 2 decades by circa 2038. Now, he partly bases his analysis on this Bitcoin supply and demand model, and that basically shows the Bitcoin cycles that have performed over the last couple of years. You can see that it is generally going up towards, so this is the supply model, that's the green dotted line, and then the red dotted line is the demand model. And you can see that is not in the beginning, but then after the second bull run, it has basically just followed that green line, and it goes up away from the demand line. The supply line goes higher and then it comes back to the demand line and keeps going, and the estimation is that this will at some point go even higher while the demand line becomes more flat at some point. By the way, if we're looking at that and if we're assuming that it will go up to that supply model line as well again, you can see that, so this would be 2022, beginning of 2022, that would be probably another peak, and that would be at about $100,000. And you can see during earlier peaks it has actually even gone higher than this line. So if it just goes a little higher, let's say somewhere here, we'll probably already be at about $200,000. Now, this model is actually partially based on a stock to flow model that looks more or less like that, and you can see pretty much exactly that. It follows that line, so you can also see that in the beginning of 2022 over here it would be just over $110,000 for one Bitcoin. Now he then talks about his model and says, Metcalfe's law holds that as the number of its users grows linearly, a network's value, or the Bitcoin price, grows geometrically. In other words, Bitcoin's value, Bitcoin's utility or value, should grow much faster than its network of buyers, sellers, exchanges, ATMs, and participating retailers. So the article then goes on to talk about how it grows relatively slowly to about $1 million in the early 2030s, and then those two lines have a further gap. Now, another argument that he brings up is inflation. So it's not just that Bitcoin will rise in value, but it's also that the dollar will decrease in value. And so he brings something else up, and he makes an example. He says he claims that $1 invested in stocks in the 1700s is now worth almost $4 billion as the value of the dollar changes relative to other assets. So you can see here this line, this dark blue line, is the purchasing power in stocks. So $1 would now be almost $4 billion. Then we've got a few other lines, for instance, gold, bonds, cash, power, and then purchasing power of fiat. You can see that went down to 2 cents. Now, this is certainly a very ambitious price prediction, but I can see his reasoning. For one, we don't know how much inflation will grow, and it will probably grow during the next couple of years, and until 2038, that's still another 16, almost 17 years. And what we've also seen is that a lot of stocks used to grow exponentially. If we look at Apple or any of the .com bubble stocks that survived the bubble, they grew exponentially to incredible heights. Now the scarcity of Bitcoin combined with fiat currencies that are prone to inflation could be such a mixture that could push Bitcoin to much higher prices. So far it has proved true that it follows this supply and demand model, but we have to see if that will also develop this line here. It could also stay on this demand level. That would tell me that Bitcoin will go up to $1 million by about 2030, and then maybe could flat out. So yeah, what do you think? Is it a bit too ambitious, this price prediction, or do you think that's actually realistic? Let me know in the comments down below what do you think about it. And speaking of models and metrics, this stock to flow model is actually good to understand the grand scheme of things, where Bitcoin could go next, where it will top out and where we go down again. But in order to actually time the top, we've got a few much better signals, and that's what we've been working at for the membership side, for the DeFi Academy. And we've actually been working on the exit strategy where we go through all of those signals. So we've currently got 5 signals that we're looking at. So this is the guide. And these are all the selling signals that will give you a much better idea of when the top will be reached very soon. Now we not only have this exit strategy, but we'll also post weekly updates, and we'll also post the updates on the signals when they actually occur. So you can be really on time to take your money out, or to trade it, to put it back in when the prices drop. And this just gives you a much better picture of what's actually going on, and has helped Karen and me make much bigger gains through our trades. So again, if you want to be one of the super early birds, go down to the description and subscribe to my newsletter to be notified when we will go live at which hour, so you don't miss it and you can get one of those 20 spots. If you like this video, hit the like button down below, share it with your friends, and be sure to subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!